Right, everybody. We have a long meeting agenda that I am committed to getting through expeditiously, but completely. So I'm going to call to order our Monday, March 10th Finance Committee meeting at 5:31. The first item on our agenda is to review and approve the minutes. I would take both if you guys are interested in that, from February 10th and February 17th.
Motion to approve.
Both?
Both.
Okay, motion by Mr. Bartz. Second by Ms. Davis. Any discussion on the minutes? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Very good. All right, let's go to business. Our first item is to review and make recommendation on an agreement with Vandewall for zoning code rewrite services. Brian, I'll invite you up to the microphone in case there's questions. Brian did provide a nice memo. He's here to answer any questions you all may have on the scope of work or the ordinance or the recommended resolution. Otherwise, he is recommending forwarding this contract to the Common Council. Ms. Davis.
And could you just verify that the $90,000 for this project falls at budget or below budget?
That is the quote from Vanderwall.
And that's what we budgeted
And that's what
for.
we budgeted.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments? Is there a Ms. Davis?
Motion to approve this contract.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second? Motion by Davis, second by Lampy. Anything else? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? All right, easy enough. Thanks, Brian. All right, our next item is to review and take action on hiring an RN for the Public Health Department at step 5, and then doing a step adjustment for the public health nurse. I'm going to invite Abby up. Abby is our assistant. What is your technical term?
Assistant director.
Assistant director. Okay, I didn't know if you were a deputy or assistant. Carol is out today. Before Abby there was a nice memo provided. She's happy to answer any questions y'all may have. I just want to remind us, we just did something very similar with wastewater, when we had some positions of existing employees that needed to be adjusted a bit. So would you like Abby to provide an overview? Otherwise, the memo is very complete. Any other questions y'all may have? No? Okay. So then there's 2 recommendations here. One is to approve hiring Jennifer Zielski I'll take that, at K5, and then making the appropriate adjustment to Lacey Cummings to K8. Mr. Lampy.
I would make that motion.
Thank you, sir. Motion by Lampy, second by Bartz. I know that we're excited to have someone in this position. We've been waiting for the right person, and glad we can bring on someone to the team. Any other comments or questions? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Very good.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
for your time.
All right. Our next item is to review and take action on interdepartmental promotions for street and solid waste, from general labor to light equipment operator.
Item C.
Oh, thank you. Oh, let's do that one first. I was wondering why my packet didn't align. And then I was going to fault Steven's team who printed my packet. Turns out it was just me. Good thing I didn't do that out loud. All right, let's back up the train to item C, which is to approve a 1-step adjustment for our wastewater division employee. Pete's here. We do these from time to time. It looks like Jake Nails has completed his wastewater operator.
Correct. Yes.
So you're just looking for a motion to provide that 1-step adjustment? Is that right, Pete?
Yes, it is.
Very good. Mr. Lampe?
So I would move to approve moving Jake Nels from grade H step 6 to step 7, retroactive to March 5th.
Thank you,
of
sir.
this year.
Motion by Mr. Lampe, second by Mr. Moldenhauer. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed?
Thank you.
Thanks, Pete. All right, now let's try that one again. This is review and take action on the interdepartmental promotion in streets and solid waste. Stacy is here, but again, I know provided a nice memo. So Stacy, we just have some internal promotions.
Yes, one is due to retirement and one is due to the assistant operator's position. So that was a heavy equipment operator that moved up.
Okay. The reason I'm not just shuffling us along on this one is I feel like, we had an email about this one? Or a different
She
topic?
has additional that will have to come next meeting.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, questions, comments? Motions for Stacy. So this is placing Vince at grade H, step 6.
Correct. And that's mostly because of his years of service. So he was a pretty high step in his grade.
Very good. Ms. Davis.
I'll make that motion to recommend that Vince, is it Riedel?
Riedel.
Riedel.
Riedel be placed at grade H, step 6.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Bartz. Any other discussion on that? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, and then our next item, similar topic. This is for
Dan.
Dan Keel. Thank you. I wasn't finding his name.
And I guess I should have put the date in here. These are both to start at the next pay period.
Okay,
So
very good.
3/19,
And this is grade I, step 4.
correct.
So this one's here because it's step 4 or above. Is there a motion on this one? Thank you.
I move to approve Dan Kuhn at I-4 at the next pay period.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Davis. Motion by Lampy. Anything else from anybody? You have anything else, Stacy?
I do not.
All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, very good. Next is to review and take action on our budget modification for the Town Square Future Fund. This has come up in a couple of different meetings, and I see we have the memo here from Christine, and Mark, I know, has been involved in as well. We are just making a recommendation to make some adjustments as listed on the memo. Questions? Comments? Background? Yes, sir.
I was just going to move to approve this adjustment to the Town Square Future Fund.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Christine, sit down. Yeah. I was like begging you to make eye contact with me, like, sit down, Christine. No, wait, does anyone have any questions for Christine? Because it's gonna be really bad if I make her come back. Oh, quit it. Yes, sir.
I just wanted to say thanks. I know this was kind of highlighted in the last week or so, and a little bit of hard work was done in a short amount of time, so thank you.
Very good. Thank you for saying that. Any other comments or questions? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, very good. All right, our next is to review and take action on a pre-development extension with Intrepid Investments. Mason is here and has also provided a nice memo for you all. Questions, comments that you may have for Mr. Becker? See what happens when you all write really nice memos? Yes, ma'am.
I was just going to make a motion to approve the extension to the pre-development agreement between
you.
the city and Intrepid.
Thank you, ma'am.
Investments.
Motion by Ms. Davis, second by Mr. Lampy. Additional discussion? Right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Very good. Very good. The next is to review and take possible action on the approval of a Community Development Fund grant application for the Wilbur Street project.
Yes, thank you. This is a little bit of a different one. I did provide a memo, but we also have Melissa Sanko, who's the CEO of Habitat for Humanity of Waukesha and Jefferson Counties on Zoom if you have any questions for her. Excited to be bringing this forward. They recently submitted a formal request to the city, and this is something that had been discussed in meetings with them and internal meetings with city staff, that there is a platted right-of-way that exists and there are city utilities underneath it. Habitat doesn't necessarily need that street for their project to move forward, but long-term, it probably would be in the city's best interest to see that street extended. It would match the development pattern in the neighborhood. And they recently submitted a formal request to the city for the city to pay for construction of that street right away. So that's kind of up to all of you. I think in looking at other projects they've done in other areas, some municipalities do step up and choose to assist their projects in different ways. This is the one request they're making of the city of Watertown. I would note further, I did reach out to the gentleman who owns the land on the eastern portion of the block. I was actually finally able to talk to him today, and he said that if Wilbur Street were completed, it probably would make it a little bit easier for him to build the duplexes on the eastern portion of the block that he's been planning for some time. That's 24 units, 12 duplex builds. So for $200,000 that we've estimated, we could potentially unlock a lot of buildable lots in the city of Watertown here. Thinking about how we could pay for that, since that obviously wasn't a budgeted expense for this year. Dodge County very recently launched this community development fund. And after talking to their director of economic development, he thought that this could be an appropriate project to apply for. If we were awarded the grant, they could award up to 50% of the project costs. So we would have to come up with some internal source for the rest of that money, but we think we have a few ideas.
I've spoken with Andrew about the opportunity to have essentially, $100,000 available to us, and I think we've come up with a handful of places that could come from. The reason I wanted Mason to bring this to you all is, while there's not like a written rule that we can't submit more than one application, we really would be competing against ourselves. And so rather than Mason just submit an application on behalf of this project, we thought we should have you all weigh in on if this was the project that we wanted to submit the application for. That's really the ask, like the reason why it's before you all today. Should we be successful, we would come back with, if needed, a formal budget amendment. However, we're looking, a lot of Andrew's contracts came in under budget for annual streets, so we may not even have to make a budget amendment. It's possible we'll just have existing road money that's available. So are there any questions that you all may have? Yes.
So there's a couple of houses on Lisbon and also on Main where it looks like there's a deep lot.
Yes.
But how easy it is for those folks essentially to subdivide and sell the back half if they wanted to put a house on there.
The houses on Main that are shown, I know one of them was actually removed already along Main Street. The houses on Lisbon, I'm not sure. You're talking about the ones that go deeper toward the Wilbur Street right away?
Yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, I think generally speaking, how easy is it for someone to, I mean, Brian's not sitting here, but Stephen is. I mean, multiple steps, CSM would have to be done to separate the parcel. Depending, I mean, then probably just,
It would be up to the private property owner if they wanted to engage in a potential sale of that land and do a certified survey map to subdivide.
Stephen, what do you have for us?
It's a process that could be done. There would be a certified survey map. They would have to go to plan commission, get the subdivision approved. That would require that they also fund potentially any improvements adjacent to that land. But it would be something that they could fairly easily do if they decided. Otherwise, they could add a driveway access or garage in the back more easily than what the current vacated street, or not vacated, but non-existing street would allow.
You're talking about these parcels in this area?
No, the ones to the left,
These?
those and the ones to the bottom.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I misspoke. I thought you were talking about
This,
that house over there was destroyed in a controlled burn exercise.
This one. Yeah,
The,
so, oh, go ahead.
sorry, the two to the south are actually owned by LLCs, so they wouldn't necessarily even have to subdivide. They could just add on apartments or take some other action potentially. It would depend on what the zoning is for those specific lots and how they want to move forward with it.
Great.
I mean, obviously, we want to see the Habitat project be successful. And I think internally anyway, we discussed, having these folks here pay for this road to extend seems unnecessary. So it feels like in the best way to support the redevelopment of this site, to support the Habitat project, having this grant available seems like a really great resource. And so that's why we wanted to be able to submit this one to Dodge County's grant program. Any questions that you all have, comments? Otherwise, we're just looking for a motion to approve the city applying for the Community Development Fund with Dodge County for the Wilbur Street project. Ms. Davis?
I'll make that motion to apply for the grant.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Bartz. Any additional discussion? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, thanks, Mason. Thanks, Melissa.
Thank you.
All right, let's then go to our next item. This is just a review and discussion on mill rates for cities in Dodge and Jefferson County. I know Mark has a few items to share with you.
If you are a reader of social media, you'll obviously have read numbers of times that Watertown is the most expensive in the area to live. And so I wanted to determine, are we the actual most expensive tax rate in these
Can I-
two counties?
Can I interrupt you? Zach, you got your pen ready back there? There you-
So I compiled the tax rates and then the equalized rates for the last 2 years, and I'll continue to do this now moving forward. Obviously, the equalized rate would be the one to use as a apples to apples comparison. That's exactly what equalized value means, taking whatever the state's percentage is and applying it accordingly. And so then I've added the low to high on each of the separate counties. Obviously, each of those counties would be different. And we have to remind ourselves that we are only one of 4 taxing entities, and we have no control whatsoever on the other 3. But even including those 3, and I did not have an ability, unless I were to call each of the towns and cities, I don't have the capability of just dissecting the 4 different parts and all. I could do that, but just looking at the total, we are in 2023, we were the lowest tax rate for the Jefferson County, the 4th out of 8 for Dodge. In 2024, we are the 2nd lowest in Jefferson and maintained the 4th out of 8 for Dodge.
That's Mark Stevens' version of a mic drop. In his very polite way. No, in all honesty, I think, people can really speak from a position of knowledge on this topic. It's one that I'm sure you all have to engage with quite frequently, and so I appreciate Mark taking the time to put this together and to continue to provide it to you all so that we can really check ourselves with our rate. And I'm not saying ours just as a city, I'm saying ours as a collective taxing jurisdiction with the county, the school district, and the VOTEC. Do you have any questions for Mark or comments? Yes.
This is the combined debt and city,
Yes,
normal city levy.
General
right?
operations and debt,
For all, like, the complete package.
yes.
Yep. Ms. Davis.
How did you determine which cities to compare us to in the counties?
I've included all of the entities called cities. So villages and towns are not on my list.
Okay.
Good question.
There are some times when towns have a higher population than Watertown. Just,
A town in our county?
well, not
Oh,
necessarily in
I
our
was like, not in
county.
our county.
I haven't examined them all, but
I think that might
sometimes.
just be
towns-
Grand Chute might be close. They're like the largest town in the state, but they're a pretty big anomaly. Villages
Villages sometimes.
would get closer to us than a town typically would. I hear a request to add villages next time, but good information.
Easy enough to do.
Anybody else? Awesome.
Very good.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Very helpful. Okay.
Mhm.
Next item is an update, as we promised, on the fire truck financing options. Mark has provided you a memo. Mark, is there anything else you wanted to add on this one?
No.
Do you all have any questions for Mark? We just promised you this homework back.
I don't have any questions.
Okay, anyone else? All right, very good. Okay, so just to put a button on that one, we will, if we haven't already gotten the contract, that contract will then be going through the review process, and then we'll head to council for approval. Okay, next item is to review and discuss the TID4 closure potential fund list. We met internally, but Mark did the legwork. Do you want you want to talk about
Go
that?
ahead.
No, are you? Okay, so as you all know, we have the TID4 closure coming. And one thing that we wanted to make sure that we could do is bring before you all a list of potential projects to spend that on. This list is certainly not all inclusive, but what we did do is go through a process internally of looking at our comprehensive plan and comparing that to items that were on our capital funding project list. Mark used, we essentially used the sections of the comprehensive plan, ag, natural resources, land use, transportation, et cetera, and just determined if the projects on our funding list applied to any one or more of those criteria. So we have the list before you all. Mark, I'd love for you to talk a little bit about the money that's available to consider and then kind of the strategy for when we'll come back.
We are weeks away from making the last principal and interest payments that are due for this TID borrowed money. We would have one more year's worth of payout on the developer agreement. But I've got that incorporated. I've got the cost of an audit. We skipped an audit that we should have. It's supposed to be every 5 years apparently. But because we're this close, last year we decided, let's forego that, knowing that we would be closing it up. So cost of an audit, I've included as much as possible that I know, the known entities, to get us to the point of saying we'll have about a $1.73 million amount of money coming to the city. So that's not the full proceeds, that's our proceeds only. And of that 1.73 million, 840,000 has been committed to the Rock River Ridge infrastructure project, leaving just a shy of $900,000. Obviously, the list that you've got in front of you is 3.6 million. We're not going to be able to complete the whole list, but the hope is let's dent as much as we can out of it, knowing that for anything that comes off of the capital improvements 5-year projected list into the future is of benefit to the city. And also give it to you without any comments today, unless you have any immediate questions. I definitely have department heads interested in any questions that you might have on these items, and be glad to take those questions from you, field it to the department heads so that you have answers back 2 weeks from now on any of these things that you might see on the list.
So any initial questions on items on the list? Any items you want us to add to the list? Otherwise, the thought is that we'll come back next time with an ask for some formal direction. Yeah.
So one of the ones that I think is important to look at, because this one will be of huge interest to me, is within the Main Street reconstruction, we have a monolithic number of about 907 for those non-eligible expenses, but I guess some ability to understand how that can be broken down or partially funded with
Okay.
this would be helpful.
We can do that, right? We have some of those, I'm looking at Mason and Andrew, we have those expenses broken out.
Yeah.
Sure.
Mhm.
So can someone make sure those get to Mark? Do you want that ahead of next meeting? Like,
That'd be helpful.
okay, Mark, did you hear that? If we could send that to them ahead of the meeting, so
Yep.
for them to consider more.
I think my second request is just in terms of displaying the amounts here, since we're essentially pulling off 840 from both the top and the bottom. I think we basically, I think, have about 2.75 million in play against the 891.
Yes, that's fine.
Yeah.
Whatever it is more than you have.
It is,
Mhm.
but it's not 3.5. So we can make a bigger dent than I think we are
I
giving ourselves
understand.
credit for.
Yep.
Sure. Other initial comments or initial questions? Okay, so we'll get that follow-up info out to you guys, and then we'll plan to make some decisions next go around.
Yep.
Okay,
It's a good list.
yeah, it was nice to do, so this is a kind of a quasi-formal way of doing public policy analysis. I was really calling back on my education and experience. It was kind of nice to sit there for an hour and carefully consider these things, so. Okay, before we move into. I'm just looking at what's next in our packet. Before we move into our series of closed sessions, I just want to remind those of you in this room, we have the police department one first. The fire department is currently at a fire. And so we're gonna bump P, Q, and R to the end of the closed session list. Hopefully they can make it back. And then I think we have a couple of other closed sessions, but we're gonna go in and out quite a bit. So are you sticking around? Only so that I make sure that we get you.
Yeah. Feel naughty if I don't.
Hey, so when this body, and when I'm no longer here, has to decide if we should make improvements to this building, maybe you could public comment that you
Yeah.
can hear us during closed session. That and the fact that there's vents on the door, it's always bothered me. I used to sit obviously over there and I would see people standing by the door and I'm like, oh man, it's not right. They should make it back. Okay. All right. So our next item, well, they all left, but they didn't have to because we weren't in closed session yet. So we're going to keep the doors open. It's just to do a quick review and discuss on the police department union agreement status. Stephen did send you all an email about this kind of reorganizing of our closed sessions. And so this is our first experience with that. So Stephen, do you want to provide a quick update?
So there was a recent court case in regards to open sessions and how those are conducted. We'll be revising the agendas a little bit going forward on that topic, just to make sure that it's clearer what topics are within the closed session areas. But we have to present the topic in initial open discussion, as well as discuss what the non-competitive bargaining reasons are, or anything that's not required for competitive bargaining reasons in open session, and then go into closed session just for those purposes.
So for this one in particular, the reason that, do you want to share anything else about this item?
For this specific item, the reason that the convening closed session is on here is in case you guys want to discuss any bargaining position or negotiation strategy. I don't know that it's required for every one of these positions, but if we don't put on the option to go into closed session, then it takes away your ability to go into closed session and negotiate these topics. Some of these don't necessarily require a lot of bargaining, most likely.
I think my version of this packet was printed on Friday, or no, it was printed today. I don't have any materials in my packet. I don't think I have the closed session packet, or was there any material?
There, some.
Yeah, my page 62 is a memo from Mason.
Sorry.
So here, do
So-
you want to tell them what it is?
Yep.
Because I don't have it.
So the only request for this one is to change who's representing the police union. They've asked to change their organization to be represented by a different entity, just because they have, the entity that was currently representing them is closed down and is no longer doing that.
Operating.
So,
And since it's in the contract that that's who they are represented by, in order to amend the contract, we would just need your guys' permission to allow them to change that. That's all this is.
Yep.
That's the only item. So if you're comfortable taking action in open session, we will just move past the closed. So if so, we just look for a motion to approve amending the police union contract. Stephen, to allow for the change in representation.
I'd make that motion.
All right, motion by Mr. Moldenhauer, second by Mr. Lampy. Any additional discussion? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, so then I can just move past item, or do you want to some type of formal action?
if they,
So for
Take an
item
action,
M,
but-
which is going into closed session, Mark should just say no action was taken.
Yep. there was
Okay.
no motion to go into close.
All right, which means we also don't need item N. And then item O was approving that amendment, which we already
They
did.
just did.
All right. Mason, I can hear you talking.
It's like pets. and
Mason
then
Becker,
they
hear
obviously
you
behave like
talking.
invasive
Mason
species,
Becker.
and it's like Raccoons aren't pets, so like.
oh, I don't know what it is. There we go. I muted him. Yeah. Okay, the next item then is the item that I'd like for us just to move past for now. It sounds like they're clearing that scene, so they should return. So we'll move past item P, Q, and R, if that's okay with all of you. All right, and then that would take us to item S. So Andrew, if you want to come back. This item we aren't doing in this order. You can go ahead, Stephen, if you'd like to get him, if that's where you're headed.
Yeah.
This item we aren't doing in that order because this one is about negotiating position. So I would look for a motion to go to closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statute 19.85 to deliberate or negotiate the purchase of public property, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. This pertains to the Hart Street drainage improvements.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Bartz.
Second.
Second by Ms. Davis. I'll take the roll. Bartz.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Lampy. Moldenhauer. And I'll vote aye as well. I'm gonna pause. All right, we are back and open. The next item on our agenda then is to review and take action to direct the Public Works Department on how to proceed regarding the Hart Street drainage improvements. Is there a motion? Mr.
I
Wright.
would motion to proceed with negotiations for acquiring the Hart Street drainage improvement land. I don't know if I said that.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion by Mr. Bartz, second by Mr. Moldenhauer. Any discussion? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. All right. That would take us to item V. But I have the fire department saying that they're back from the call. So how about this? Who is item V?
He is Mason.
Mason? Oh, Mason's here. Okay, I'm gonna,
Keep moving.
yep, I'm gonna do them next. All right, could I please, okay, so let's go to item V. This first is review and discuss the proposed multifamily development at 101, 100 and 104 East Division. Mason,
Thank you. Good to be back in here.
here we go.
So this one, you know, this is a item kind of for informational purposes tonight. It will be coming to site plan review on the 24th. And since this is a pretty major project in our downtown area, we kind of just wanted to give the finance committee a heads up that this was coming. We've been working for a few months with a group called Northtown Partners out of the Sheboygan area. They approached the city last summer looking for potential sites to develop, and we honed in on the former Johnsonville site, which some of you are probably aware, and I mentioned in the memo, is owned by a private ownership group. It's an interesting development, as I pointed out in the memo for all of you. The site is not without its challenges. We'll be proposing to build across a county line. Hence there's 2 addresses, 2 zip codes, 2 aldermanic districts and so forth. We feel like we've already worked through those issues with both the city clerk and the Wisconsin Elections Commission. There will be some fire code compliance items to work through that probably will make the development a little bit more expensive than typically would be for a 68 unit apartment building. So we were looking to move into closed session potentially to discuss some of the particulars of the TIF. I should note that I just received the financial pro forma from them yesterday, so I've only just begun to kind of work through that.
So do you want to have discussion on the TIF request tonight, or do you want to just land the project with the group? I don't
We wanted to talk about some of the particulars of the
specifics.
TIF. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
I don't think it has to be a lengthy closed session, but it probably should be.
No problem. Before we go into close, so we're gonna kick you off for just a minute. And then Mason, you just have Lumen Terrace after that?
And also the Marion
Okay,
Clark.
then we'll go to close. Kick you all out. We'll bring you back when we're done with this item, before you get called out again. We'll make Mason wait to finish. Sorry, Mason.
I was
So-
already at the end of.
Yeah, I was
the
like, you're not,
agenda, so-
you're not a first responder today, so, okay, so then could I please have a motion to go to closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statute 19.85 This is deliberate or negotiate the purchase of public property, investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a close. This proposed to a multifamily residential development for 100 and 104 East Division Street. Is there a motion to go to closed?
Motion.
Motion by Ms. Davis, second by Mr. Bartz. We'll take the roll. Davis.
Aye.
Bartz. Lampy. Moldenhauer.
Aye.
I'll vote aye as well. To amend the development agreement for the name change of the LLC for Lumen Terrace. Motion is second. Any conversation or discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, so we do not need item Z or item AA, and we just took action on item BB. All right, the next item then is to review and discuss a vacant land offer to purchase for a portion of 315 Mary Street. Is there anything that we're providing in open, Stephen? Just that we've received a request for this, for a portion of this parcel to be sold to the city?
Yep.
And we'll review that offer to purchase in closed session and determine a negotiation position. So could I please have a motion to go to close pursuant to Wisconsin statute 19.85(1)(e) to deliberate or negotiate the purchase of public property, invest of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require. This is a vacant land offer to purchase for a portion of 315 Mary Street. Motion by Ms. Davis, second by Mr. Lampy. Ms. Davis?
Aye.
Bartz?
Aye.
Lampy? Moldenhauer?
Aye.
I'll vote aye. All right, we are back in open session. Our last item is to review and take possible action on approving or denying the vacant land offer to purchase for a portion of 315 Mary Street. So Ms. Davis,
So I'll make a motion to approve the vacant land offer to purchase for a portion of 315 Mary Street from the city with legal modifications deemed necessary by the attorney.
perfect. Motion by Ms. Davis, second by Ms. Moldenhauer. Comments? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, very good. With that, it is 7:06, and I would ask for a motion to adjourn. Motion by Mr. Bartz, second by Mr. Lampy. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, we are adjourned.
Thank you.